Did you know that over 11 million unauthorized immigrants are now living in the United States in 2025, with some states bearing a disproportionate burden that's straining resources to the breaking point? The numbers are staggering and climbing every day. America's demographic landscape is changing right before your eyes, and the impact is being felt in your communities, your schools, your hospitals, and your job market. In today's video, we're exposing the top 10 states with the highest number of illegal immigrants in the United States in 2025. We're diving deep into the harsh reality that mainstream media refuses to cover, where these migrants are settling, how they're transforming local communities, and the real impact they're having on everything from housing costs to wage suppression. You might think you know which states top the list, but the dramatic shifts since President Trump's return to office have reshuffled the deck. Several states you'd never expect have seen their undocumented populations explode as migrants flee from states with stricter enforcement. With immigration being the most divisive issue in America today, this video will reveal eye-opening facts about the migrant crisis that's unfolding in real time across our nation. So if you want to understand what's really happening in America's immigration crisis, stay tuned for the complete countdown. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because the information we're about to share might just change how you see the immigration debate forever. Number 10. Washington. Kicking off our list at number 10, Washington State now hosts approximately 350,000 undocumented immigrants in 2025. While the evergreen state might be known for its coffee culture, tech giants, and rainy weather, it's also become a surprising sanctuary for unauthorized migrants fleeing crackdowns in other regions. Maria Gonzalez, who crossed the border 3 years ago, now works in Washington's vast apple orchards. "We haven't stolen any jobs," she told CNN. "The work that there is the work that we do. We live off of what we earn." What's particularly alarming is that Washington saw a 15% increase in its undocumented population since 2023, bucking the national trend of declining numbers in many states. This surge coincides with the state's passage of several controversial sanctuary policies that limit cooperation with federal immigration authorities. Washington's agricultural industry, worth over $10 billion annually, has become almost entirely dependent on migrant labor. From apple orchards to berry farms, these sectors rely heavily on undocumented workers who are willing to work for lower wages than American citizens. Sheriff Robert Davidson of Yakima County puts it bluntly, "Our hands are tied. We identify illegal immigrants committing crimes, but state policy prevents us from cooperating with ICE. The public deserves to know the truth about what's happening here." Meanwhile, the state's progressive stance on immigration has made it a magnet for those fleeing stricter enforcement elsewhere. Washington now provides undocumented immigrants with access to subsidized health care, driver's licenses, and even college financial aid, benefits funded by taxpayer dollars. The economic impact is complex. While undocumented workers contribute approximately $300 million in state and local taxes, critics point to the estimated $728 million cost of providing public services to this population. Either way, Washington's growing status as an immigrant haven has transformed communities from Seattle to Spokane, making it a key battleground in America's immigration debate. Number 9. Massachusetts. Coming in at number 9 on our countdown is Massachusetts, where approximately 380,000 unauthorized immigrants have settled by 2025. While the Bay State is known for its prestigious universities, rich history, and fanatical sports fans, it's also become a northeastern hub for undocumented immigration. The state's sanctuary policies, particularly in Boston, have made it an attractive destination for migrants even as deportations increase in other regions. In early 2025, Massachusetts expanded health care coverage for undocumented residents, sparking fierce debate about resource allocation when many citizens struggle with medical costs. Jose Ramirez, a construction worker who has lived in Massachusetts illegally for 8 years, exemplifies the human side of these statistics. "I pay taxes with my ITIN number, but I still live in fear," he explains. "When Trump won again, many of my friends considered leaving, but where would we go? My children were born here. They are Americans." Massachusetts' undocumented population contributes approximately $8.8 billion to the state's GDP, primarily in critical sectors like healthcare, construction, and food service. Without this workforce, the Massachusetts Taxpayers Foundation estimates the state would face a labor shortage of approximately 7.5% in these essential industries. However, State Senator Marcus Williams points to the strain on public resources. Our schools in Springfield and Worcester are overwhelmed. ESL programs have waiting lists hundreds of names long. Emergency rooms are functioning as primary care for thousands of uninsured immigrants. Massachusetts taxpayers are shouldering this burden while their own needs go unmet. The tension is palpable in communities like Chelsea and Lawrence, where undocumented immigrants now make up nearly 15% of the population. Housing costs have skyrocketed as multiple families crowd into single-family homes, and schools struggle to accommodate students who speak little English. Yet advocates like Dr. Elena Sanchez of Boston Medical Center see a different reality. These immigrants are filling crucial jobs in our hospitals, elder care facilities, and restaurants. They're paying into systems they rarely benefit from. The economic math is clear. Massachusetts benefits from their presence. Number 8, North Carolina. North Carolina slides into the 8th spot with approximately 425,000 undocumented immigrants calling the Tar Heel state home in 2025. Once known primarily for its legendary BBQ and college basketball rivalries, North Carolina has become a southeastern magnet for unauthorized immigration. The state's rapid economic growth, particularly in construction and agriculture, has created a labor vacuum that undocumented workers are filling. In the wake of devastating hurricanes in 2023 and 2024, North Carolina's construction industry became heavily dependent on migrant labor for rebuilding efforts. Carlos Mejia arrived in Charlotte 3 years ago and now works in construction. After the storms, there was so much work and not enough people to do it, he explains. Americans don't want these jobs, working 12 hours in the heat, climbing on damaged roofs, but we need the work, so we take the risk. The economic impact is substantial. Undocumented workers contribute an estimated $1.5 billion in state and local taxes in North Carolina, while providing essential labor in agriculture, construction, and food service. However, the state spends approximately $2.1 billion annually on education, emergency health care, and other services for unauthorized residents. Governor William Johnson has taken a hardline stance. Since implementing our E-Verify requirements for employers and partnering with ICE in 2025, we've seen illegal hiring decrease by 22%. When you remove the job magnet, you reduce illegal immigration. It's that simple. But the crackdown has consequences. In the agricultural sector, farm owners report crop losses exceeding $270 million in 2025 due to labor shortages. Apple and sweet potato harvests were particularly affected, with some farmers leaving portions of their crops unharvested. My family has farmed this land for generations, says Deborah Miller, who owns a 500-acre sweet potato farm near Goldsboro. Now I can't find enough workers at any price. The Americans who show up quit after one day in the fields. Meanwhile, the experienced migrant workers I relied on for years are afraid to come back. The debate extends to North Carolina's growing tech hub in the Research Triangle, where companies report difficulty filling positions at all skill levels. While the public discussion often focuses on low-skilled labor, approximately 15% of North Carolina's undocumented population has college degrees and works in sectors ranging from healthcare to technology. Number 7, Georgia. At number 7 on our list, Georgia is home to approximately 470,000 undocumented immigrants in 2025, concentrated primarily in the Atlanta metropolitan area and the state's southern agricultural regions. The Peach State has implemented some of the strictest immigration enforcement measures in the country since early 2025, including mandatory E-Verify for all businesses and a controversial program allowing state police to act as immigration enforcement agents. These policies have created a climate of fear in immigrant communities. Yesenia Ruano, who has lived in Georgia for 14 years, told 19th News, "If they're a little human, then I can prove I belong here. If they just care about detaining people to meet a certain quota and deport them, if I'm just another number, then I can already hear them saying, "Ma'am, I don't care about your case. We're so sorry, but we're going to send you back to your country." Despite the enforcement measures, Georgia's agricultural industry remains heavily dependent on undocumented labor. The state's $13.75 billion agricultural sector, producing everything from peaches and pecans to poultry and cotton, employs an estimated 100,000 undocumented workers. Recent farm labor shortages have resulted in approximately $350 million in lost crop production in 2024 alone. Dalton, Georgia, once known as the carpet capital of the world, offers a glimpse into the complex economic relationship between Georgia and its undocumented population. Nearly 30% of the workforce in carpet mills consists of unauthorized immigrants, making products that generate billions in revenue and support thousands of additional jobs held by U.S. citizens. State Representative Carlos Martinez offers a perspective rarely heard in mainstream coverage. Georgia's economy would collapse overnight without these workers. Our agricultural exports would drop by 60%. Construction would grind to a halt. The hospitality industry that supports our convention business in Atlanta would be crippled. However, Sheriff James Wilson of Gwinnett County presents the other side. In the last year, my department has spent over $15 million housing undocumented individuals who committed crimes in our county. That's money that could have gone to schools, roads, or tax relief for hardworking Georgians. The economic math is complicated. Undocumented immigrants contribute approximately $1.2 billion in state and local taxes in Georgia, but the cost of providing education, emergency health care, and criminal justice services to this population exceeds $2.4 billion annually, according to state estimates. Number 6, Illinois. Moving up to number 6 on our countdown, Illinois houses approximately 500,000 undocumented immigrants in 2025, with the vast majority concentrated in the Chicago metropolitan area, one of the nation's most ethnically diverse regions. Illinois stands out as one of the few states that has strengthened its sanctuary policies in 2025, directly challenging federal immigration enforcement efforts. The state has expanded access to public benefits for undocumented residents, including health care coverage, driver's licenses, and professional licensing. Miguel Diaz, an undocumented construction worker who has lived in Chicago for 9 years, says, "I pay taxes every year using my ITIN number. I built the apartments where Americans live. I renovated the restaurants where they eat. We are part of the foundation of this city." The economic contributions of Illinois' undocumented population are substantial. They generate approximately $6.7 billion in economic output annually and contribute $758 million in state and local taxes. Sectors like manufacturing, hospitality, and healthcare would face severe labor shortages without this workforce. However, the fiscal impact on public resources remains contentious. The Illinois Policy Institute estimates that providing education, emergency health care, and other services to undocumented residents costs the state approximately $4.6 billion annually, a figure disputed by immigrant advocates. Chicago public schools now spend approximately $1.3 billion annually on English language learner programs, with nearly half supporting students from undocumented families. Emergency rooms across Cook County report providing $267 million in uncompensated care to undocumented patients in 2024 alone. The human stories reveal complex realities. Carlos and Elena Mendoza own a small restaurant in Chicago's Pilsen neighborhood, employing 15 people, half of whom are undocumented. "Without immigrant workers, we would have to close," Carlos explains. "Americans don't want these jobs, and when we do hire them, they rarely last more than a few weeks." State Senator Richard Morrison presents the opposing view. Illinois taxpayers shouldn't be footing the bill for those who entered our country illegally. Every dollar spent on services for undocumented immigrants is a dollar not spent on struggling Illinois families who played by the rules. The state's fiscal crisis adds another dimension to the debate. With one of the nation's worst pension funding shortfalls and persistent budget deficits, critics question whether Illinois can afford its generous policies toward undocumented residents. Number 5, New Jersey. Taking the 5th spot on our list, New Jersey houses approximately 550,000 undocumented immigrants in 2025, making it one of the most densely populated states for unauthorized residents in America. The Garden State's proximity to New York City, a global hub for commerce and opportunity, makes it an attractive destination for immigrants seeking work in construction, hospitality, and healthcare. In fact, approximately 1 in 5 construction workers in New Jersey is undocumented, according to industry estimates. Recently, Juan and Maria Gonzalez faced a difficult decision. "When Trump won again, we thought about leaving," Maria told CNN. "Our son likes what Trump says about the economy, but he doesn't understand what it means for us. Where would we go? This is our home now." New Jersey's approach to immigration enforcement has created a patchwork of policies. While Governor Michael Sullivan supports cooperation with ICE, cities like Newark and Jersey City maintain sanctuary policies limiting local police cooperation with federal immigration authorities. This tension was visible in April 2025, when ICE conducted a series of workplace raids across central New Jersey, detaining 178 undocumented workers from restaurants, construction sites, and warehouses. The operations sparked protests in Trenton and led to heated debates in the state legislature about New Jersey's immigration policies. The economic impact of undocumented immigrants in New Jersey is substantial. They contribute approximately $1.3 billion in state and local taxes annually and generate an estimated $15.7 billion in economic output. Without this workforce, key sectors of New Jersey's economy would face severe labor shortages. However, the fiscal impact on public resources is also significant. New Jersey spends approximately $3.8 billion annually on education, emergency health care, and other services for undocumented residents, according to state budget analysts. The human impact is evident in communities like Patterson and Elizabeth, where undocumented immigrants make up nearly 20% of the population. Public schools in these cities struggle with overcrowding and the cost of English language learner programs, while emergency rooms serve as primary care providers for thousands of uninsured immigrants. Maria Lopez, a nurse at St. Joseph's Hospital in Patterson, sees firsthand the healthcare challenges. "We treat everyone who comes through our doors, but our resources are stretched thin. Many undocumented patients only come when their conditions are severe because they fear deportation, making treatment more difficult and expensive." Number 4, New York. New York takes the 4th position with approximately 700,000 undocumented immigrants in 2025, with the majority concentrated in New York City, long known as America's melting pot. The Empire State has doubled down on its sanctuary policies in response to increased federal immigration enforcement, allocating $300 million for legal defense funds for undocumented residents facing deportation proceedings. This stance has made New York a flashpoint in the national immigration debate. The impact is visible throughout the state's economy. Approximately 15% of the restaurant workforce in New York City is undocumented. The construction industry relies heavily on unauthorized workers, who make up roughly 25% of the workforce, and nearly 30% of home health care aides caring for New York's aging population are undocumented immigrants. However, the fiscal strain on public resources has become increasingly apparent. New York City public schools now spend approximately $2.6 billion annually on programs for students from undocumented families. Emergency rooms across the state provided $1.7 billion in uncompensated care to undocumented patients in 2024. The human stories reveal complex realities. Daniel Ortega, who has worked as a delivery person in Manhattan for 7 years, says, "I pay taxes. I work 12-hour days. But I still live in fear every time I see a police officer, wondering if today is the day I'll be sent back." A growing controversy emerged in May 2025 when, as reported by Newsweek, ICE agents arrested a high school student at an immigration court hearing, sparking protests and reigniting debates about enforcement priorities and sanctuary policies. The economic math is complicated. Undocumented immigrants contribute approximately $2.1 billion in state and local taxes in New York and generate an estimated $31.2 billion in economic activity. However, providing education, emergency health care, and other services to this population costs the state approximately $9.5 billion annually. Mayor Samantha Rodriguez of New York City defends the city's approach. New York has always been a city of immigrants. These workers are essential to our economy. They're paying taxes, starting businesses, and revitalizing neighborhoods. The math is clear. New York is stronger because of our immigrant communities. However, State Assemblyman Robert Thompson from upstate New York presents a different perspective. While New York City can absorb these costs, our smaller communities upstate are struggling. Our schools are underfunded. Our hospitals are closing. Yet we're spending billions on services for people who entered the country illegally. It's simply unsustainable. Number 3, Florida. Florida claims the third spot with approximately 925,000 undocumented immigrants in 2025, despite implementing some of the nation's strictest immigration enforcement measures over the past year. The Sunshine State's diverse economy, from agriculture and construction to hospitality and healthcare, continues to attract unauthorized workers even as the state increases cooperation with federal immigration authorities. This tension creates a unique dynamic where economic necessity often conflicts with political rhetoric. In May 2025, Florida expanded its controversial law requiring hospitals to ask patients about immigration status before providing non-emergency care. Civil rights groups challenged the law, but the Supreme Court allowed it to take effect while litigation continues. Maria Gonzalez, who has picked oranges in Central Florida for 8 years, faces new uncertainty. My children were born here. They are American citizens. But now I'm afraid to take them to the doctor because I could be reported. Is this what America wants? Children without health care because their parents are undocumented? The economic impact of undocumented immigrants in Florida is substantial. They contribute approximately $1.7 billion in state and local taxes annually and generate an estimated $42.3 billion in economic output. Without this workforce, Florida's $9 billion agricultural industry would collapse overnight. Juan Rodriguez, a citrus farm owner near Immokalee, explains, "I've tried to hire American workers. I offer $15 an hour to pick oranges, but they quit after 1 day in the heat. Without immigrant labor, legal or not, Florida's agricultural industry would die, and Americans would pay triple for their orange juice." Yet the fiscal impact on public resources is also significant. Florida spends approximately $6.5 billion annually on education, emergency health care, and other services for undocumented residents, according to state budget analysts. The human cost of Florida's enforcement approach became evident in April 2025 when a series of high-profile raids at agricultural operations across the state left thousands of acres of crops unharvested. Estimated losses exceeded $300 million, and food prices spiked temporarily across the Southeast. Sheriff Michael Davis of Hillsborough County represents the law enforcement perspective. "We're simply enforcing the laws on the books. If Congress wants different outcomes, they need to change the laws. Until then, my deputies will continue cooperating with ICE to identify and remove criminal aliens from our communities." The 2025 implementation of Florida's E-Verify requirements for all employers has driven some undocumented workers underground, creating a shadow economy where labor exploitation has increased. Reports of wage theft have doubled since January, according to worker advocacy groups. Number 2, Texas. Texas takes the second position with approximately 1.7 million undocumented immigrants in 2025, despite implementing the nation's most aggressive border enforcement measures. The Lone Star State has been at the center of America's immigration debate for decades, but the situation intensified in 2025 with Operation Border Shield, a state-funded initiative deploying thousands of National Guard troops and state police officers to the U.S.-Mexico border. Roberto Mendez, a construction worker who has lived in Dallas for 12 years, says, "I pay taxes, I follow the laws, my children are in school here, but now I'm afraid to drive to work because checkpoints are everywhere. We're just trying to survive. The economic paradox in Texas is stark. Undocumented immigrants contribute approximately $2.7 billion in state and local taxes annually and generate an estimated $69.3 billion in economic output. Key industries, from construction and agriculture to manufacturing and hospitality, would face catastrophic labor shortages without this workforce. Mark Johnson, who owns a construction company in Houston, explains the contradiction. Politicians talk tough about immigration, but they look the other way when it comes to enforcing employer verification. They know our economy would collapse without these workers. The fiscal impact on public resources fuels ongoing debate. Texas spends approximately $10.7 billion annually on education, emergency health care, and criminal justice services for undocumented residents, according to state budget analysts. In border communities, the human impact is impossible to ignore. Emergency rooms in McAllen and Laredo report providing over $500 million in uncompensated care to undocumented patients in 2024 alone. Public schools in these areas struggle with overcrowding and the cost of English language learner programs. Sheriff James Rodriguez of El Paso County sees the daily reality. We're on the front lines of a broken system. Washington politicians use immigration as a campaign issue every 4 years, but they never fix the problem. Meanwhile, border communities bear the financial burden. The economic complexity extends beyond fiscal impacts. Texas's agricultural sector, worth over $25 billion annually, depends heavily on undocumented labor. Without these workers, the state's position as a leading producer of cotton, beef, and vegetables would be in jeopardy. As newsource.org reported in early 2025, mass deportations could cost the U.S. economy up to $315 billion, with Texas bearing a significant portion of that impact. Nearly 1 in 10 California workers is an undocumented immigrant, the report noted, highlighting how deeply embedded this workforce is in the economy. Number 1, California. Taking the top spot on our countdown, California is home to approximately 2.1 million undocumented immigrants in 2025, maintaining its long-standing position as the state with the largest unauthorized population in America. The Golden State's relationship with its undocumented population is complex and often contradictory. While state policies provide unprecedented protections and benefits, including healthcare coverage, driver's licenses, and in-state college tuition, the economic reality for many undocumented residents remains challenging. Jose Ramirez, a farm worker in California's Central Valley for 15 years, told NPR, "I exposed wage theft at my last job. They weren't paying overtime. Now I don't know if I'll be able to stay in the country." His application for deferred action through a Department of Labor program remains pending as immigration policies shift. The economic impact of undocumented immigrants in California is staggering. They contribute approximately $3.7 billion in state and local taxes annually and generate an estimated $131.5 billion in economic output. Key industries would collapse without this workforce. California's $54 billion agricultural industry, producing over a third of America's vegetables and 2/3 of its fruits and nuts, depends on approximately 450,000 undocumented farm workers. The construction, hospitality, and healthcare sectors similarly rely on unauthorized labor. Tom Wilson, a third-generation grape grower in Sonoma County, explains, "We've tried everything to attract American workers. $20 per hour starting pay, health benefits, bonuses. They still won't take these jobs. Without immigrant labor, California wineries would shut down, and the ripple effects would devastate our tourism economy." However, the fiscal impact on public resources fuels ongoing political debates. California spends approximately $23.5 billion annually on education, healthcare, and other services for undocumented residents, according to state budget analyses. Critics argue these funds could address California's housing crisis or crumbling infrastructure. The human impact is visible in communities across the state. In the agricultural hub of Fresno County, where undocumented immigrants make up nearly 20% of the population, Housing shortages have reached crisis levels as multiple families crowd into single-family homes. Public schools struggle with overcrowding and the cost of English language programs. Maria Gonzalez, a teacher in East Los Angeles, sees these challenges firsthand. My classroom has 32 students, and 18 of them are English language learners. Many come from mixed-status families living in constant fear of deportation. How can children learn when they're terrified their parents won't be home when they return from school? The economic paradox became clear in March 2025 when a series of ICE operations targeting agricultural operations in the Central Valley led to temporary labor shortages. Crops worth approximately $13.5 million were left unharvested, and food prices spiked temporarily across the western United States. And there you have it. The top 10 states with the highest number of illegal immigrants in the United States in 2025. As you've seen, this issue touches every aspect of American society: our economy, our communities, our politics, and our national identity. The reality is far more nuanced than either side of the political spectrum typically acknowledges. Undocumented immigrants contribute billions to our economy and tax base, while also creating real fiscal challenges for states and local communities. They fill crucial gaps in our labor market, while also raising legitimate questions about security and rule of law. What's clear is that America's immigration system remains broken in 2025, with neither side of the political aisle having the courage to implement comprehensive reforms that address both security concerns and economic realities. If this video has changed your perspective or given you new insights into this complex issue, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth coverage of the issues that matter most to Americans. What do you think should be done about America's immigration system? Let us know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.